Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first live AMA with Lavita. We're so excited to have this session with you today. For all of you that are online now or watching the recording later, we couldn't be more excited to share our updates, insights, answer some questions, and kind of have more engagement with you, the community that we're so much excited to work with and have these sessions with. So here today, I'm here with Pedram, who's of course the AI lead for Lavita. We have, of course, the privilege from working with a lot of engineers behind the scenes, all the scientists that have been working so hard on the platform, and we'll share some of the exciting updates today. We're going to have a very exciting session, just about an hour, kind of divided into a few different sections, subsections. We're going to start with a quick kind of overview presentation. Some of you may have seen at the Theta Eurocon, but some quick updates about what we have been up to in the last few months, and then followed by actually answering some of the questions that you guys already posted to the social media. So we have, I think, about 15 or so questions that we go through, and Pedram and I will answer those. Then we have a quick showcase, actually, some of the recent AI-related products that we have released and we're working on. Pedram will go through a showcase. And then after that, I think, Pedram, we're going to take some live questions from the audience. Hopefully, we'll have some interesting engaging conversation with you guys. So with that, let's jump in.
Yep, let's do it.
Great. So, we unfortunately didn't get to actually be present in person at the Theta Eurocon. That's actually where we're planning to have our first initial live AMA. For some last minute logistic that couldn't happen. So we are now, of course, with you today. We're going to do this quick kind of a slide presentation, giving you some of the materials that we shared in the Theta Eurocon. We're very much looking forward to ThetaCon later this year, toward the end of 2024. The Lavita team will be there and hopefully engaging with many of you in person, interacting in the sessions that we have planned for there. As of course you know, we've always been focused on patients and individuals from a first principles perspective. When you look at a lot of healthcare companies in the current ecosystem, most of them are either B2B companies, or even if they're consumer companies, they're more B2B2C. So there's always that kind of intermediary businesses that have to be served in order to get to the patients or the individuals at the end of the value chain. And in Lavita, we're really trying to think completely from ground up differently how that should be done, and focusing on patients first, individuals first, and users first, meaning that we want to make sure that they have access to their health data. We want to make sure that they have control over their data and don't face current challenges that they have when trying to utilize their data. And of course, all of that without having to worry about their privacy, and making sure that data is remain private while they're benefiting from the value of that data. So all of these, of course, become manifested in what we are envisioning for Lavita, in bringing what we say connecting data and intelligence. So when you look at the products that we have released, and kind of the vision that we have for Lavita is connecting your electronic health records, your genetic records, your other health and wellness data, medical images, all sorts of valuable information that you have, and then allow the users to use that information actually for their own benefit, as opposed to just having it sitting in some data silos with some provider. So you can imagine that with all the advancements that's taking place in the AI, large language models, foundation model used for analyzing multimodal information from various data sets, which we'll talk a little bit about today as well, connecting all of those to the data that you have, health data, bringing it all into one place so individuals can truly receive personalized health data that's to their benefit. And then all of that, of course, with making sure that individuals have their data privacy, don't have to worry about data breaches and all of those that have been so common in the last several years with large corporations. And on top of that, of course, there's the opportunity for individuals and for users to create communities, as we're all about, to create communities and monetize their data when they become larger cohorts. So there's so much advantage and there's so much opportunity to be taken by coming together as a community, by sharing the data, of course, with security and privacy primitives, so as to allow research and studies being done that today are very hard to do, or if they're getting done, the individuals are not benefiting from it financially. So we're really allowing for people to take advantage of their data and monetize if they decide to, if they want to participate, to do so and monetize it in a secure and private manner. So by connecting these kind of Silk Road together, health data platform and medical AI assist, we're going to have some interesting, of course, updates for you today on both of those. Lavita Health Data Platform, which we recently actually sent out the invitations to beta users, so they are already going to be able to sign up for an account on the Lavita platform, be able to connect it to their EHR providers, be able to digest all of that data from more than 400 providers in the US, and then bring it all into one place, into one platform. And having access to that in one place is just something that it's very hard to do today. And businesses, providers, as much as they are, of course, providing health services, they really don't have that incentive to create such platform for users. Even big EHR companies like Epic and so on, they really just have different data sodas with different data providers, with different health providers. And then in addition to that, of course, you have access to all sorts of data, from genetic data, from medical image data, from other type of, if, for example, a researcher, they want to even share their statistical models or training models, all of that in one place so as to enable this, essentially this powerful AI cycle by connecting data and intelligence. We recently launched, of course, some interesting stuff on the Lavita Medical AI Assist front. So as you remember, this is our flagship AI product that's enabling users to get access to some of the most advanced AI models, large language models, both open source and closed source, and really get advantage by connecting all the key stakeholders from the health data providers, from the patients, and connecting them to this medical AI engine that we have built on the back end, and take advantage of that by receiving, accessing personalized health data. So this is, of course, some of the recent updates that Pedram will talk about more today. We recently launched the medical evaluation sphere. This is really first of a kind that in the medical domain that's no other player has done before, that we're really first to market to do this. And we're super excited, and allows us to partner with great contributors, both from the individuals and people that are just using the data, using the platform to get data, to compare different models, to understand more about kind of these large language models when it comes to health and medical domain, and at the same time work with various actually research institutions to take advantage of this. So for example, recently we announced our partnership with CFI, Center for Precision Health and AI, which is a center at Dartmouth College, and we have multiple of these research collaborations coming up with other institutions to really take advantage of these evaluation models, really to bring the latest, both in terms of the foundation models, the large language models underlying those, as well as all the fine-tuning and data that comes with it to make sure that users are getting the best of all that's available to them. So we're excited to talk about some of these updates today. Of course, we'll go through some questions that you guys have posted to the social channels before. So Pedram and I will cover to the best extent, and we have a live Q&A at the end. And also we'll do a showcase, Pedram, in the middle for some of the exciting stuff that we have planned for you on these products. So with that, maybe we jump to the questions.
Yeah.
Great. I think we're going to have the question pop up on the screen for users, but we can also start reading from our notes here. So I think the first question is for you, Pedro.
For sure, yeah. Let's jump in. So these are basically the questions that we got from the community, and sometimes these are the exact questions. So we're going to go one by one. And so the first question, what kind of health information can I expect from Lavita's analysis? I think this is like the first question that you saw on the screen. So maybe talk a little bit about that. I think there's like a lot of things, a ton of things that we can do on this platform. Maybe as just one example, you can imagine that you are going to be having the ability to interact with your private information on the Lavita marketplace. Once you have your EHR documents, electronic health records, let's say there are some lab results and there are some items on those lab results that not everybody can, make sense of. So one thing actually that we're trying to here, just one example, is to enable users to interact with their own personal medical information. In this specific case, we're going to be having some components for Q&A, like question answering with your personal information. So that's actually one of the capabilities or features that we're going to make available on this platform. And as just one example, there's like a lot of like other examples too that Ali can also like elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, we are, again, the vision for Lavita is to become an all-in-one platform. So users really can bring all sort of data. Let's say, imagine that you have just received in mail some, from your insurance or provider, some information about some recent lab results that you've taken. You just quickly, take a snap of that, snap a picture of that,
exactly,
and then upload it on your phone.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this will be only on the device.
Yeah.
And then later, with the small language model that you have on the device, you can actually communicate and interact with all that information.
Yeah.
At the same time, genetic data. Let's say you recently taken a 23andMe result, and you get the result as like a PDF form. You can quickly again upload it to the platform and then be able to use it. Of course, EHR data, we allow you to quickly digest all that data from anywhere in the US where you have your provider, and you're adding integration with other countries, of course, as well. And then all sorts of data that may be even more interesting for researchers. Let's say you're a researcher in the health domain and you want to bring your data, some statistical data, some actually AI models, some workflows, and you can bring it all in one place in the Lavita platform to take advantage of that in a unified way.
Exactly, and then maybe like one final example of that when it comes to Q&A with your lab results. For example, you may not necessarily know what is a normal range for one of the items that you see on your lab results. So in this specific case, we can, for example, use this Q&A component to say, hey, what items are within the normal range and which items are not within the normal range. So that is kind of like, as just one example of the type of health information we're going to be able to provide on the platform.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Moving to the next question. Given the state of large language models, LLMs, and their capabilities and growth vector, how do you see your product evolving? And there's also the next question, which is kind of like related to this like second question that I'm going to address at the same time. Some other users also ask about, hey, could you also share your thoughts regarding recent medical AI models and any plan to integrate those models into Lavita platform or Lavita AI Assist? The thing is that obviously when it comes to like large language models and medical large language models, we've been monitoring the advancements in the medical AI LLMs and foundation models in general, not necessarily just like medical LLMs. And the thing is that generally speaking, we embrace the growth of LLMs, and we do not necessarily see ourselves in direct competition with the big players to build the state-of-the-art large language models. And the thing is that if there's like a really good model available, we can leverage the strong base models that are out there. And the most recent example I'm sure a lot of you have heard of is Llama 3.1, the 5 billion parameter model, and some smaller models within that same family. So that is actually a really good example. So we obviously, we're monitoring the advancements. If there's like a really good base model, we try to leverage that, and then also, try to see how we can improve and build on top of it. And I think here, Perplexity AI is a pretty good example. I'm sure that some of you know about Perplexity AI, the good company who is building an answer engine. So if you go on Perplexity AI, Perplexity is developing their own internal kind of like large language model. For example, the most recent model based on the Llama 3.1 family. But at the same time, you're going to be having access to all sort of like other flagship models, including GPT-4o or Claude from Anthropic. And Perplexity's, the true strength is not necessarily, developing the state-of-the-art models, but also building this bigger platform for, generating good quality reference-based answers to any sort of questions. So that's actually, when it comes to Lavita and the medical domain, that's actually one of the visions. Obviously, if there's like a really good model, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. So we're not going to spend a lot of resources, to kind of like compete with a very kind of like great model that is already out there and is openly available. And then maybe another, just a few also like quick points about that. In addition to kind of like, developing or tuning better models, we're also trying to leverage the most recent methods. So for example, we know about RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, which is kind of like, one of the methods in order to address or mitigate the hallucination problems in large language models. So for us, we see it as a balance between like better models combined with some most recent methods in order to achieve a better quality answer when it comes to medical question answering. And the other thing is that the field is moving really fast, in terms of kind of like, going back to the question that, hey, have you been like, following the recent advancement? It's really interesting, even for me, like personally, since like 2 years ago that I wrapped up my PhD, like every single day, you see a lot of amazing work. And just one example, when it comes to the specifically medical AI domain, I encourage people, if you're interested, there's this paper that got published in 2023 titled, "Do We Still Need Clinical Language Models?" And the idea was that, they were like trying a bunch of hypotheses and trying to address some questions to see whether there's a still value in creating smaller models that are very domain specific, in this case, like clinical models. And at a time that they were doing this work, GPT-3 was the strongest models out there. So when it comes to kind of like integration of new models into our products, we need to also like reevaluate some of these work. The reason I mentioned that paper is that one of the conclusions was that, hey, there is still some value in training smaller scale models, because at a time the strongest commercial model was GPT-3. But the question is that now, considering that we have all these like great LLMs with much better performance, is there also still a need? I think there's going to be a need for some like really domain specific like problems, but again, it needs a lot of like evaluation, and that is actually why one of the reasons that we also put some focus on the medical evaluation sphere. Because I think for any sort of like model training and model tuning, it's really important to have a great understanding of the strength and limitations of the current methods and current models. And that's actually the one thing that we're trying and we're hoping to achieve with medical evaluation sphere. And then maybe the last thing I want to mention, I'm going to pause here, and also like, if Ali, feel free to chime in if you have like any thoughts. There are also a lot of like, in line with evaluation, there's like a lot of like also challenges when it comes to kind of like developing new LLMs. I think evaluation specifically is a really, kind of like a good challenge. At the same time, a lot of interesting problems within the evaluation domain. For example, we have some, large language models that are publicly available, but some of them are not. Speaking about medical AI models, MedGemini from Google is a great work, but at the same time, we don't really have access to the weights and even like some of the annotations that has been done as part of the evaluation process. So sometimes it makes it a little bit hard and challenging to compare the results and different models. But regardless, again, we're obviously, we're going to be like keeping an eye on the most recent advancement. And again, for Lavita, the bigger picture is that we don't see our value in only building, the state-of-the-art large language models, but also to kind of like leverage those models in downstream applications on the marketplace. Yeah,
absolutely. No, that's a great point. Kind of relates actually to the next question as well about the timing of launch of Lavita platform, data platform. The field is just moving so fast. The generative AI, it is definitely an arms race. On large companies, on behalf of large companies.
Yeah.
Of course, they're trying, of course, to be the most accurate and highest performing models. But the Lavita's mission, as Pedram mentioned, is to really just bring the best and the greatest what's available there to the users for the benefit of the community, and then allow the users to choose whatever that's best suited for them. I think that was one of the beautiful aspects of the medical evaluation sphere, and actually one of the reasons that we kind of in the roadmap we switched the order. Initially, we had the launch of data platform first, and then the medical evaluation sphere. But we just saw how fast the space is moving. We decided to kind of flip it and then have the medical sphere come first, and then now we pushed the Lavita platform data platform launch from June to July. So I think maybe one thing to mention before going to that question is, Pedram, you and I actually talk about, in addition to these AMA, of course, sessions that we're going to have more often, what we want to start at Lavita is essentially like a webcast, a podcast in a very frequent cycle, maybe like every month or every other month, that will really bring, this is from academia or from entrepreneurs within our network, of course, Lavita itself, that we want to bring kind of the latest thinking and the latest advancements that people are really, bringing to the ecosystem, and then just making sure that our community understands it and make sure that we bring the advantage to them. So that's something that, from our own kind of engagement with community, would definitely bring it on and hope to bring the best and latest knowledge to our community.
Absolutely, yeah.
As I quickly mentioned on the last question, Lavita data platform, we already have sent out the beta users that are already signed up. They now have access, so they can sign up and access their Lavita platform account, and they can connect it to the EHR and get rewarded Lavita tokens, which we hope that are a stake. Of course, the intention is for the long term, as you stake both tokens and you keep the data on the platform, these will have an accumulative value effect over time. So that's definitely something that we have done, and so we're in the roadmap.
Yeah.
I think we continuously monitor the roadmap. There was a question, if there are any updates to the roadmap. Again, this field is one of those areas that just moves so fast. So we have published roadmaps usually in at the beginning of the year, or kind of maybe updating in the middle of the year. But as things move fast, especially on the AI side, we always keep our options open to make sure that as the field is moving, we're catching up and bringing, again, the latest technologies to our users.
Absolutely.
Let's go to the next question. It's actually an interesting one. How secure is my data in Lavita platform? So this is one of the core principles. So the answer is really Lavita platform. Again, I make a comparison with all the data silos that exist today in health system, which is either a B2B platform or a B2B2C platform, which means at the end of the day, there's some intermediary business, a kind of another, essentially a third party entity that controls the data. This could be, of course, maybe the health provider on behalf of its population and patients, or maybe other entities, from pharmacy benefit management, from, of course, the EHR providers, all of that. But of course, there are benefits to that you get some services from those companies, but there's always a challenge that these companies, just by the nature that they are, corporations, and these large corporations are always subject to attacks and data breaches and so on. And there's so many examples of that, of course, going on. Lavita platform is just designed to be for the users, by the users. So there is no data accessible to anybody other than the user itself. So it's only the user that has the private key and be able to actually unencrypt their data, to be able to view it or to share it if they decide to, or to monetize it, etc. All Lavita is doing is essentially just bringing the technology tools to the users to do that by their own consent. So the data is ultimately secure, and it's ultimately just controlled by the users.
Yeah.
And of course, in this endeavor, because Lavita's motivation is not, kind of creating a business model out of, data hoarding or, kind of data arbitrage, data access arbitrage, all of that. We are a community-first company. We want to be a company of value over long term, but that's something that will create value over long term, as opposed to trying to optimize opportunities for revenue generation and data monetization in the short term.
Yeah.
And that kind of at the core allows us to bring all these security and privacy primitives to the users. Yeah. So very good question. Thank you.
It's maybe like just one thing to add, that's correct. And also even like for Lavita Assist, right? So we don't really use any third-party APIs, even though like in a lot of cases, they have a better quality, because we don't want to send the user queries to these third-party APIs. And even like internally, when we are like doing some internal tests, we're like very mindful of making sure that we're not kind of like sending any user query that includes any PHI or PII, personally identifiable information, to any of these like APIs. unless they're like HIPAA compliant, maybe like in the future. So just wanted to add that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, this is very interesting. I mean, again, just to mention a little bit further what we have in the line for that. What we have, and soon we'll be talking about it more, is using on-device intelligence, which goes back to the principle that your data actually never leaves your device. So whether it's your mobile device or whether it's your another desktop device, your data, for the majority of the part, maybe you want to decide if you want to participate to some studies, you can share some metadata, but actually your data sits just on your device, and then using small language models that can be run locally, then you can actually get advantage of these AI models without having to sacrifice any privacy. And of course, we have, as we have discussed in our white paper and other forums, of course, all the technologies that we use related to SGX, secure enclave and trusted execution environment, in addition to other techniques like multi-party computation, differential privacy, etc., that when it comes to creating those cohorts that I mentioned or research studies, then also, of course, those are all very secure.
Yeah.
So short answer that Lavita is built on security first.
Yeah. And maybe like moving to the next question, what sets Lavita Assist apart from other medical chatbots? Good question. I think like maybe to answer that, a couple of points here. First of all, I think in line with what Ali said, one of the real values in the bigger picture that Lavita is creating here is bringing all the key stakeholders on this platform. So it's not just about one chatbot or just the Lavita Assist itself, but the bigger picture is that we have patients or users at the center of the platform. On one side, we're connecting them to their own personal medical information, and then at the same time, on the same platform, we're enabling them to be able to interact with that medical information. So I think bigger picture is that one of the value, like one of the things actually that distinguishes Lavita is just like this unique kind of like opportunity to connect all the key stakeholders. And another thing is that I think when it comes to maybe like on the technical side, another way to distinguish Lavita is by being open and also share the result of our work with the community. And I just give you one example, like the Lavita medical evaluation experience is a good example. In a lot of great work in industry and academia when it comes to, for example, medical expert annotation, we don't really have a lot of like open source and publicly available annotation on these data sets. I think for us, the definition of Lavita is being open and transparent. So that's actually, I think, one of the advantages that Lavita could have, over other the players in the industry. We are very willing to kind of like, share the result of our work and also some real, world consumer health questions, and also, the paper that we have in a pipeline now and the preprint that we're going to put out pretty soon, that is going to be with the actual data set and all the actual medical expert annotation on the quality of the answers that are generated in this data set. So I think that's actually one thing that we would want to kind of like establish our place and to be like leading that effort in the medical AI community. Again, like by opening kind of like, the result of our work to the research, and also like industry, like the academia and industry. And I think one other point that I mentioned about that, speaking about what sets it apart or distinguishes Lavita, I think it's a great engagement by the community. And if you, a lot of like, projects, early on, you don't really have a big, support or the big number of users in the community. I take like Lavita AI jobs as one example. I was like this morning, I was checking the results and the progress. And now if you go on Hugging Face, this little toy data set that we have for the Lavita AI jobs is number 4 on the most downloaded data sets on Hugging Face. And that's really big. So I think that's an amazing engagement from the community. And that's actually, honestly, again, like that's something that can set Lavita and distinguish Lavita. And we can really leverage that. And I'm really excited about, that kind of like, user engagement. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's that. Next question.
Yeah, I think we have a question about the patent.
The patent, yeah.
As part of our plan.
Sure.
So I think, obviously, a lot of the principles of what we're working on is related to open source, making sure that we essentially have a community-owned, large language models, the fine-tuning, the instruction tuning that we're doing on Lavita Assist. And of course, a lot of the things we're doing on Lavita data platform is also is meant to be, again, like owned by the community itself. So that being said, of course, we want to be strategic. So where we see the value of having patent protection for some part of our product and features, this is probably more related to secure computing workflows and making sure that those are protected, and something that's, of course, Lavita can truly claim that this is something unique to the company and claim that in a patent application. We're considering that and we're working on that. But I think fundamentally, our goal is not to maximize the number of patents we publish. If anything, we are actually more focused on research collaboration that will result in maybe published papers with tier one institutions around the globe. That's probably more of a priority for us. But where we see opportunity, again, for the benefit of the community, those patents, of course, we will pursue those. But we won't be pursuing patent just for the sake of publishing a patent. I don't think that's a metric just by itself. To the, of course, and to the key metric is how we can benefit the community at the end of the day, making sure that we have many users that are participating and having the benefits of the platform for their own personalized health, all of that. So that's the key metric that we're working on. And
absolutely, absolutely. And then maybe like just one point regarding the publication of papers. Obviously, we have roots in academia, so we've done a lot of research, and then we love actually doing some solid work and research, and also believe in publicizing the work that we do. And so that's kind of one thing on the roadmap. Maybe like I talked about this kind of project. I think at TheaterCon in Austin, we talked about this paper that we have in the pipeline. It took us a little longer, but I think we're finally having a really nice piece of work. And again, we're going to put a preprint out pretty soon, and also try to present the work in different conferences. But research papers is one area that we're really interested in. And also with future interns, actually, that we have a lot of requests from great and amazing and talented students in academia, and that's actually one of the things we offer them. We're super open, about the publication of the results, and just again publishing technical reports, and that's another way for us to also regarding that question, exactly. To share our work,
exactly. That's kind of one aspect of the next question: what differentiates Lavita platform from traditional platforms and apps in healthcare? I think there have been many aspects of it. We talked some of it. We are, I think fundamentally, we are again a patient first or user first endeavor. We're not, in that sense, even a kind of a B2B company or B2B2C company, which is 99% of healthcare companies are like that. So I think for us, it's most important that the users and the community find what we offer useful, so they just come back using it, and that way we just create organic growth for the platform, for the users to get the benefits of it. Again, our goal is to bring the latest technology and make it useful and accessible to our community, and of course to grow the community. And then out of that, of course we get the value that there will be, of course, value creation in long term, partnering with various institutions, whether it's research partners, whether it's other healthcare companies, whether it's a variety of population health-related institutions, all of those, and that will create, of course, value over time. But I think that's ultimately what sets us apart from a lot of other healthcare companies, which is ultimately about, from day one, how we can make money by monetizing data or monetizing some service, etc., which is again not how we set up as an entity in Lavita. So ultimately, that sets us apart. And of course, from a technology perspective, we definitely see ourselves as a leader in the field when it comes to AI, large language models, etc., within medical domain, and when it comes to security and privacy preserving technologies and primitives, of course, that as well. And of course, all of that bringing it to the Web3 environment, where we see a lot of value in engaging community and users. So maybe with that, we go to we answered about the partnerships as well, right? So I think that kind of that differentiation talks about who we seek as partners. So we don't necessarily just want to partner with people that are, again, just trying to monetize data right away, or maximize revenue for that matter. What we want to partner with institution, whether it's research institutions, whether it's research companies out there that want to again, use these latest technologies, and also with users themselves, individuals themselves that want to be empowered and enabled to participate for those and get compensated for those studies to participate in that kind of collaboration. I think we're actually maybe running a little bit ahead of behind time, so maybe we'll just go through quicker through some of the rest of the questions. Yeah. So, any plans to include other blockchain? Is that the question? Yeah, any blockchain like Solana, Ethereum, partnership opportunities. I think we're open to it. Of course, we have considered, some of the other collaborators. For example, when it comes to decentralized science, DeSci, this is something that we're also very passionate about, and many of those potential partners, of course, are other, particularly on Solana and ETH. From a governance perspective, I think, of course, we're committed to Theta. So we already have, our existing subchain, of course, as a Lavita subchain is on Theta, and in the validator nodes on essentially getting Theta. Interestingly enough, we have worked, again, because we are a little bit involved in the innovation ecosystem within Web3. So companies like EigenLayer that bring the kind of this shared security, within the Ethereum ecosystem. So we're obviously open to exploring options as we want to grow the community and making sure that our community get access to the latest and most useful technologies out there. But we'll be doing it very selectively, of course. Next question, I think is, will be able to operate validator nodes on the subchain? I think I mentioned yes, exactly. Of course, this is a permissionless chain, so anybody. Of course, it takes some technical know-how and be able to keep it online with some technical expertise to set it up. As you know, of course, Theta has tens of validator nodes. I think some projects or Replay also have community operated validator nodes. Lavita, I believe we have 4 validator nodes that we have set up ourselves. What we're looking for very selectively is to work with institutional partners. So similar to how Theta has done it, maybe with Sony, maybe with Samsung, Google, some of these really marquee technology and content companies out there to become validator nodes. So for us also is about can we, and we're already have some conversation ongoing, like a large health institution, let's say, a large hospital system or a large academic institution that conducts a lot of both clinical and research studies, that they become validator nodes on Lavita subchain. So that's something that we have in mind. And of course, from a community perspective, we'd love for the community to run validator nodes. And that's something that, again, with a little bit of technical expertise can be done organically. And we're very much excited for that. Yeah. Next question is, how much of the tokens is it staked? Even with current staking reward, price volatility is too high to be compensated. I think that's a fair point. I think obviously, if you look at a lot of it is market driven. When you look at early stage companies, early stage project, that volatility is just nature of the game. Even when you look at some sort of more established projects, even Theta itself, there's obviously a lot of volatility with the market prices recently. So I don't think that's anything unexpected. We definitely expected that. Actually, I've been fortunate enough to be involved with Theta from very early on, since 2017. And I would say that actually Theta, at the time in its own growth, we're about a year, a few months into Lavita when it was after its TGE. So the kind of the staking percentage where we are today, I would say, is actually ahead of what Theta was at the time, if I remember correctly. But the point being, ultimately, of course, we are very fortunate to work with Theta and with Theta community. We're so appreciative of that. But the key point is, of course, is the longevity. So what we're looking for and we're working very hard at is to create that organic, essentially, support from the community. So people are excited, again, to come to use the platform for these various health services, to use the Lavita AI Assist, to contribute the data, or even just connect their data to earn Lavita rewards and stake essentially their data and rewards, and over time increase it. So I think that longevity of the data is actually a big enabler for us to over time increase the staking percentage, and then of course as part of that, increase the security of the network and also improves with the price volatility as well. That being said, again, as an early stage project, like we see with a lot of other projects, volatility is always expected, and we're very much appreciative for community that's supporting us for the long term and staking tokens for the long term, knowing that we're here really working hard for the long term benefit of their success and of course the Lavita success overall. So we're very much appreciative of that. Next question is, I think, what exchanges are you working on? So we have listed, of course, on a few exchanges, like Gate, like Bitmart. We have been talking actually to some larger exchanges as well. I think what we want to do ultimately, we're not chasing what I would say like a token velocity. Our goal is not to just create a token velocity by having a NAT or just a token velocity that's artificially created or it's not sustainable. Our goal is to create that data velocity, which means that we want to bring as much as data on the platform, again with health data marketplace, and make that data useful, connect the data and intelligence cycle so that that flywheel can kind of course reinforces itself. So then over time, as we have more and more data velocity, that translates into the token velocity, and that token velocity of course will be beneficial when we're talking with more exchanges in terms of getting listed there, and then of course for the users to benefit from it.
Yeah. All right, maybe next question. What are the updates on Lavita AI Assistant UI? So I had this really interesting comment on Twitter X, and one of the users made a very fair point. They said, "Hey, the UI of the Lavita Assist."
They shamed us, yeah.
Yeah. Which honestly, this is what we're looking for. I mean, I love direct and honest feedback. And they were like, "Hey, you gotta work on the UI. These are the basics of the Web 2, and you gotta which is absolutely fair." So I think a couple of things about the UI. First of all, we fixed some very obvious bugs and errors on the mobile version specifically, and now at least you can go and interact with the mobile version without having any problem, not seeing your answers and that kind of stuff. But we also spent some time with the UI designer. I directly work with the UI designer to come up with a new design, not just for the medical evaluation sphere, but also for the medical AI assist, so that the design is also consistent with the Lavita's website. So the update is that the UI design is completed, and now I'm working with the UI engineer. So we're implementing the UI design, and we got the timeline set, and I think we're going to be having a really nice update on the Lavita AI Assist and medical evaluation sphere, both the desktop and mobile versions. And I think that's going to be an amazing UI update. Yeah.
Thank you, Pedram. I think that was actually an important initiative.
Yeah.
Thank you for users' feedback. Absolutely.
Keep giving us the honest and direct feedback about the
exactly.
UI.
Exactly. Actually, honestly, one of the if for anybody that uses Epic or some other EHR, they probably the first thing they notice is that the interface is so crappy, right? Honestly, right? Especially if you access it through a mobile platform, like a mobile browser or like a mobile app. Again, one of those reasons that it's just so hard to use your own data, and then just the existing players really don't have incentive to make it usable for the patients, for the users, individuals themselves, and it's always about some intermediary business, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a pharmacy, et cetera, to take advantage of that and be beneficiary of that. I think
just stay tuned for the new UI design. We're gonna make an announcement.
But of course, it will take iterations to improve and make it.
But this new one is gonna be, I promise, is gonna be visually a lot better than the current version. So
we can hold Pedram responsible for that.
Absolutely, yeah. And maybe the last question, that we're gonna jump to the demo of a little demo of the medical evaluation sphere. Would you like to take the question?
Yeah. So I think that again, that's the key question: how we onboard users at scale. Is also related which countries this will be on. Again, different regulations, etc. We have started. So the Lavita data platform currently, the beta users and the first release is exclusively on US. This is because obviously, our team, the engineering team, is based in the US. This is where we have the most immediate access and working with the partners that we have known and that we're familiar with. That being said, there's so much opportunity internationally. Actually, we have been making presentation, talking with potential partners, particularly in Asia. So so like Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, some other places. Also in Australia. Europe is particularly challenging, of course, because of the very stringent, rightfully so, data protection rules and regulations for the benefit of the users. So that's one specific region that we'll be going into very carefully to make sure, of course, we're compliant. And that's of course, the first rule everywhere. We want to, of course, be compliant in any location and region. And at the end of the day, it's what enables company or entity like us, Lavita, to even exist is the fundamental right of the patients and the users themselves to own and control their data. That's ultimately what enables us. So this was a big part of actually US regulation that was adopted some time ago during the Obama administration, but then became implemented, actually just in some few years ago. So now, by regulation, actually companies have to let users to control their data and own their data, all of that. Of course, they don't have the incentive to do that, but if you are forcing them, and if the users are, again, in the way that Lavita is empowering the users to do this, they have to comply by regulation to allow that. So I think we're going to be very careful. Our goal is to, of course, scale fast and scale large, but of course, with all those regulations in mind and being compliant in all the regions. At the same time, we're focusing a lot on early adopters. This is where we really think advantage of Lavita being a Web3 company lies in this place, where we can rely on early adopters, where we see a lot of those, of course, pockets within Web3 communities that then Lavita can quickly gain access to these excited users that become part of Lavita community. And we'll be doing that in a global scale.
Awesome. Yeah, I think with that, we have a couple. I tried to keep this short, but this is a very interesting kind of project that's going on that I'm really excited about. So we're going to spend a couple of minutes on the Lavita's medical evaluation sphere. I'm going to show you a little bit of a behind the scene and some results that we got. And then we're going to spend a few minutes at the end I haven't checked the chat, but if there's any question coming from the live chat. So medical evaluation sphere. We started medical evaluation sphere now for a few weeks, and the idea is that in line with what we mentioned in the beginning, I think evaluation is as equally important as training new models, because it gives us an understanding of what's going on. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the large language models. We have been doing some offline evaluation in collaboration with some medical doctors, and this is the paper that are going to be out soon. But also, one of the things that evaluation is that we're going to do it fast at a scale. And that is actually one of the goals that we are pursuing by launching medical evaluation sphere. We're going to create this place and community for both experts and general users to participate in real-time evaluation of large language models on medical questions. So the one thing actually I want to show you here, I'm going to go through this code and basically show you a little bit of an analysis of the votes that we have already received on the medical evaluation sphere. This is obviously early on, and hopefully as we go, we're going to have more number of votes, and we're going to also roll out some preliminary results from this kind of analysis. But that's actually obviously I love coding and developing, so I thought it would be cool to kind of show you what's going on. So I created this Jupyter notebook, and by the way, this notebook is going to be publicly available the first time that we publish the result of the votes. But let's go through this notebook line by line. So basically the idea is that we download all the votes in a JSON format from the medical evaluation sphere. And I'm not going to go through the data preparation. I've already processed the data preparation and to save some time. But the idea is that we are going to turn that JSON into a nicely formatted pandas data frame. And in that data frame, we have some information about the battles or the comparisons that have been conducted so far by users. So for example, we know for each comparison, what is model A, what is model B. In this specific case, for example, we had a battle between Mistral 7 billion parameter versus Mistral 8 by 7 billion instruct model. And then we also have the winner of that competition. In this case, model B, which is the Mistral model, won the competition or comparison. And we also have a column to show whether the battle was anonymous or no. And then we also have the actual queries or the questions that users ask. And the reason we call it queries that, we don't necessarily know that if a query is medical or no. So that's why we call it query in the beginning. And then later on, the one thing that we also did, we defined this method and we used, we have a little internal library. It's called Gen Tools. The idea is like we have this kind of like Python class that includes a lot of useful methods for generation tasks. And we used actually the OpenAI GPT-4o model, but this actually execute prompt can work with any kind of like language model. You just got to provide the model name. It could be like Claude, OpenAI, whatever model. And then we have a little prompt that we use in order to annotate or basically to classify an input query as either medical or non-medical. And this is actually this kind of like tag that you see right here, true versus false. That is basically the result of that annotation by a large language model, in this specific case, GPT-4o, because it has a pretty good performance. And then the result of that kind of like annotation, eventually, again, is going to be this nicely formatted pandas data frame. And then we go to the data analysis section. I'm going to show you some cool results for the first time. And again, we're going to make this stuff public once we have like more votes. And before going to that part, I guess I also gotta give a shout out to our friends at Chatbot Arena. And for those of you who are not necessarily familiar with Chatbot Arena, it's like a very kind of like great board and a leaderboard actually for tracking the performance of the most recent large language models. And so we leverage basically the just for the data analysis part and visualization, because they have already done a wonderful job. We leveraged their code and made some modification and then basically adjustments to make it fit for our own analysis. But I'm just going to walk you through some of the results that we have from the evaluation sphere so far. So this chart basically simply shows that in all the battles that we had so far, and I think the number of battles that we have so far for this specific analysis is around 107 comparisons, only for medical questions. And then you can see that, in how many cases a user chose model A or model B, and in how many cases they couldn't decide. The result was either a tie, meaning that those two models are equally good, or neither, meaning that two models are equally, not that good or bad. And then this is actually the part that I'm, again, a little statistics on the models that are involved in the evaluation. So we have so far 5 different models in our evaluation pool. So if you go to medical evaluation sphere, you can see that we have, the AlpaCare Llama 2 13 billion version model and Mistral, and then Lavita Chat Llama 2, which is an older model based on Llama 2, and we have Mistral, which is another open model for biomedical domain, and we also have the Meta Llama 3 70 billion instruct, which is one of the most recent models before the Llama 3.1. And this basically shows the number of battles each model was involved in. And as you can see, there's a fairly kind of like even number of battles, but also we're going to be adding some, because right now the mechanism for choosing 2 models is just random, but we make sure that, we have better sampling methods to make sure the number of battles that models are in are also going to be pretty much like the same for all the models. And these are some cool results for the battle count of each combination of models. We have this confusion matrix that shows, for example, the AlpaCare Llama 2 13 billion model was in, how many competition versus each of the models that we have in the pool. And so I'm not going to spend too much time on every single kind of like confusion matrix here, but maybe also one thing to mention going to the models that are leading right now, which is the part that I'm really excited about, because eventually this is exactly what we want to know from this medical evaluation sphere. So right now, which is not that much of a surprise. Meta Llama 3, 70 billion parameter is leading, and which is kind of like expected considering the size and considering the fact that Llama 3 models had some improvements. And then next we have the Mistral model, and then interestingly the open models, including BioMistral and AlphaCare. These are openly accessible models. As you can see, they're doing a little bit lower versus the models that are not necessarily trained for medical domain, which is an interesting insight for itself. It shows that some of the most recent models, even though not trained specifically for the medical or biomedical tasks, are doing better than the previous models that were trained for the medical domain. And then maybe the last thing I want to mention here, and then use the rest of the time for some additional Q&A. We also have, when we make the leaderboard publicly available, we also have this score associated with each model. It's called ELO Rating. You can look it up. It's basically a rating system that was used in a sport like chess to rate the players. And the idea of the ELO, I'm just going to basically go through the algorithm really quick. The idea is that we have the initial rating of the models that we're going to compare, and then we also compute the probability of winning, or the expected probability of winning of a model based on the current rating of the models. And then we look at the actual result, who the winner is, and then based on that and the expected probability of winning, we're going to update the rating of the models that were in a competition. So, for example, if you have a model with higher probability of winning, if that model loses versus another model that has a lower probability of winning, so we're gonna, that model probably gonna lose more score because the expected probability was higher.
It's a bigger deal. Like if you have a model that's ranked 3, winning a model.
Let's say Ali is a better chess player than me. If Ali loses to me in a game of chess, I'm gonna get more points than Ali because the expected probability of winning for Ali was higher than me initially. And then the ELO score, so we also computed the ELO rating. So the result that you saw initially, this is just the average win rate against all the other models, but we also computed the ELO rating. And as you can see, also for ELO, based on ELO rating, the Meta Llama 3 is the leading model so far. And Mistral, the same thing, the open models that are not necessarily trained for medical domain. And then there are some also like additional kind of like analysis, again, just for the sake of saving some time. I'm not going to go through it. But again, just wanted to show you a really quick overview of the analysis of the result from medical evaluation experience. Again, I'm really excited about this. And hopefully we're going to engage more users to have more votes so that the results are also statistically significant. So I don't want to, make any kind of like a strong conclusion now. Just wanted to show you, how it looks like, behind the scene when we are using these votes and how we're gonna, do the analysis using these votes. With that, I'm gonna stop. And do we have like any questions from the live chat by any chance, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe we have a few minutes. Looks like.
Oh, we have
okay.
Okay, let's go through them. All right.
Great. So I think there are some questions about Zili. I think we're going to have just a dedicated announcements on that. So we'll address that in a dedicated announcement over a tweet.
Can we actually go from the top of the list and go like one by one really quick? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. You guys are at Theta office head?
Yes, so you can imagine this is the same
all
background.
The backgrounds that you see here, So amazing collaboration, thank you.
Plans for global adoption.
We talked about it, When you're announcing Zila winners, we're going to talk about it. And then I thought live on camera. I think we were live on camera.
Roadmap for 2025. We're gonna actually publish that soon. Going to Q3. As I mentioned, obviously, as the field, especially on the AI side, has been moving so fast, we wanted to give ourselves a little bit of time to kind of make sure that we're bringing the best, most suitable roadmap for the users. But we'll be publishing that soon.
Okay, and then Ali, you have mentioned
Theta strengthen Lavita, penetrate traditional EMR health records. We love Lavita. Thank you for your support. We love Theta. We love Theta and Theta's community support and Theta's itself, the support, from Mitch, Jay, and all of their team, exactly has been instrumental for Lavita to even exist. But that being said, Lavita, again, healthcare is a global, one of the things that, you understand, if anything, COVID proved us, it's a global matter. So we want to be, as useful to anyone, even if they're not even Web3 early adopters. So we want to make sure that Lavita is accessible to anyone. That's one.
Someone said Pedro was smiling when Ali said Samsung, and I smile all the time. So, so there was no specific purpose behind the smiling. And we have a good memory of Samsung because obviously we bought the Samsung in a hackathon. So we'll look forward to celebrating success. Thank you.
Not chasing token, rather data blessed.
I see James is mentioning that Lavita won the first place. So we have world any partnership opportunities. I mean, Samsung, I think we have a good relationship, and we had a wonderful chance to. I talked to a lot of people from the Samsung team, so and a couple of them are in the Bay Area, so I think we have a good relationship, and obviously, we're going to be in touch with potential, partnerships in future.
Absolutely. Samsung actually with their own Samsung Health wearables, they have a huge presence in kind of having a health data platform. So that's one of the actually wearables data integration is one of the key components of health data platform for Lavita, which will come later because I think EHR is probably the most exciting part because it's already very much data siloed and everything, whereas wearables already like Samsung and Apple are doing a relatively good job.
So you guys, opportunities in Canada?
Actually, we have some engineering in Canada. And we were in Canada last year for the
ACL
conference.
And we sponsored one of the workshops, and we have a lot of amazing friends actually in academia in Canada, obviously.
And I think did you mention that this year NeurIPS is in Canada?
I think NeurIPS is going to be in Vancouver. So
it's very likely.
I got to double check that, but
it's very likely that we're going to be at the NeurIPS conference later this year, which will be looks like in Vancouver, Canada. So we're going to be there.
So I really want to introduce this great project. Thank you. I just received my beta tester's credentials.
Awesome.
Interesting.
Use it. I got a couple of reports that there might be some glitches with getting the invitation codes, but those were rare. So if you're part of the beta users, please go ahead and use it. You get Lavita rewards just for connecting the data. You don't have to contribute data or anything at this time. This is more just about helping us to kink out the bugs, and of course for you to kind of get a sense of what Lavita platform is about.
And then do we have any other thing at the end of the list? Maybe. Okay, so all right.
Yes, good to make the first 50 who signed up.
But smiles all the time. I didn't smile much, but gonna do more. There might be some opportunities for Samsung too. And
awesome.
I think that's pretty much it. But obviously, we have there's a good bunch of line of communication and channels. There's any question.
As mentioned, I think we want to also have not just more AMA sessions, but we want to have this what we call it essentially a medical AI webcast that we will bring in guests from academia, from industry, obviously Lavita team itself, that we want to bring in a much more frequent cadence to you guys, to the community, and kind of really, as the field is just moving so fast, bring you some of these great updates just to make sure that our community is up to date with all the great stuff that's going on. And Lavita, of course, will making its best effort to make those available to its users. Fantastic. We're I think a couple of minutes over time, but thank you so much to the community and the Theta.
Thank you for everyone at Theta for helping with these, for the arrangement.
For hosting us. We look forward to more interactions with the community.
Absolutely.
Bye.